This is day 2, the final day of cam chain replacement on the Citroen C4 Turbo Petrol. This is a bit of an insight into where I'm working and how I'm working. It's a single car space in an underground car park, so it's pretty tight, pretty squeezy. I have all the tools and equipment I need, and this is all done on a handheld iPhone on my own, so if the quality is not so good, I apologise. These are the documents that I downloaded to do the job, and I'll put a link in the description about where I got those from. 2 items I required was the cam hold down kit and the timing chain kit. I'll put a link in the description below where I got those from. Here's a picture of the cam locking kit in place. Here's a picture of the hole in the crankcase and the hole in the flywheel lined up. They don't look like they're lined up, but they are, and this is where the pin is engaged to hold the crankshaft in place. One thing I forgot to mention yesterday was the cam sensor, which is attached to the back of the cover. It's a little hard to see, and you need to slide the clip off with a little screwdriver. So next is the removal of the cam chain tensioner. This is at the back of the head and requires a 27mm socket. The next few shots are showing the various drivers and sockets required. This one's showing the E14 for the cam sprocket. Below that is a T50 required for the top cam chain guide bolt. This is the drive between the ribbed belt and the water pump, and you can see here that the strap has been withdrawn to remove the tension, and the strap is now held in place on its little catch. This is the socket required for the engine mount support bracket. The cam chain guides require a T50 driver for the top bolt. This is the view looking down at the 2 T45 drivers required to remove the 2 lower cam guide bolts. This is the view looking in through the wheel well at the lower pulley carrier boss and the 2 cam chain guide bolts. The crankshaft pulley boss requires an 18mm socket, and this is just another view of the T45 required for the lower cam chain guide bolts. This sneaky little 13mm bolt is at the back of the engine mount support. It holds a bracket for the pipework. Once the crankshaft bolt has been removed, the boss carrying the lower pulley comes out very easily. The smaller boss there supports the lower cam chain sprocket. I'd previously removed that sprocket, so it's not shown here. I used multi-grips to withdraw the old seal from the end of the crankcases. So once that boss has been removed from the end of the crankshaft and the bolts removed from the end of the cams, the whole assembly, including the cam chain guides and the lower cam chain sprocket, can all be removed as an assembly. The lower sprocket won't fall, it's held in place up against the bottom of the cam chain guides by the chain. Here's a picture of the old chain and the old cam chain guide assembly and the old cover, which I replaced as well. Next, the new cam chain guide needs to be assembled. In its open position, slide the 2 halves together end to end, then put some pressure on the outside as you slowly close the assembly up into its V formation, and you will see that they will engage in a slot to prevent them from coming apart. I had to take several goes at this, but just do it slowly, don't force it, and you'll see that it'll come together. So the new cam chain can now be inserted into the guide assembly and pull it out through the bottom, and in the loop of chain place the new crankshaft sprocket and lower the whole assembly into the engine. I've used new sprockets on both exhaust and inlet cams as well, and also new bolts, because all bolts are torque to yield and it's suggested the old bolts not be reused. So once that's done, both sprockets can be placed on the cams and the crankshaft pulley boss can be inserted into the new crankshaft sprocket at the bottom. Install the top cam chain guide, then install the dummy tensioner. This must be done to ensure that the cam chain is at the correct tension prior to torquing the bolts on the cams and the crankshaft. The dummy tensioner should be set at 0.6 Newton meters. In order to give enough room at the back of the head to insert the dummy tensioner, I released the clamp at the bottom of the turbo tube from below the engine and pushed that back out of the way. So the torque settings for the various bolts are: the Vanos sprocket bolt is 20 Newton meters plus 180 degrees. The exhaust sprocket bolt is 20 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. And the crankshaft bolt is 50 Newton meters plus 180 degrees. And I put a mark on the sprocket and the bolt to indicate the degree required for tensioning. And here's a couple of photographs of the newly reassembled engine, all complete. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Time for me to relax. Took about 12 hours over 2 days, including videoing and the occasional break.